You're listening to the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS podcast with hosts John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the MLB DFS Playbook Show here, podcast for Friday's 14-game, James, main slate. We are back from the All-Star break. They're giving us a full slate of games here, 14 games, big names on the slate as well. James, man, how was your break during the All-Star game?
Never a break here, John. Break from baseball, yes, but you know as well as anyone, no breaks in this game. It's been good.
Weary, I believe they said.
No rest. Yeah, no rest for the weary. Nothing like, a few days off from baseball, recharge, and they're like, here, 14 games, you get Coors Field, you get pitchers returning from the IL, fully. Let's just dive right back in. And, it's an interesting slate. As I mentioned, Coors is involved. And
a lot of also rain symbols on the forecast here. So, again, we'll be checking in, paying attention. Those who are on the playbook heading into Ross Luck. Coach James and I will be let back live at 5 o'clock Eastern here. But 14 games, and I've counted like 6 games that got the rain symbol on it. So, rain in the northeast coast. It looks like Baltimore, New York, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, all with rain symbols on their matchup boards here. So we'll see how much that will be impacting this slate as well.
Yeah, great. Can't wait for all the rain in the Northeast. The Northeast has been pretty brutal in terms of weather this entire year. So
it rained for like the entire second half of June. So
it sure has. It sure has.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at some Vegas totals here, James. Anything sticking out to us that we should be keying in on here today?
10 implied runs in Milwaukee, Cincinnati. We have 9 implied runs in White Sox, Braves. 9 implied runs in Diamondbacks, Blue Jays. We have, this is an interesting one, 6.5 implied runs in Minnesota, Oakland. Pablo Lopez twirled the complete game shutout in his final start before the break. Paul Blackburn opposing him. Not sure 6.5 is a number I've seen yet this year, but I digress. 7 implied runs in Detroit, Seattle. Erod, George Kirby in that one. And then 10.5 in Coors. Probably the lowest we've seen. I guess 11 over on DraftKings is relatively normal. 11.5 on Bet365 for Coors Field. But Carlos Rodon, Austin Gomber, 2 pitchers. Gomber's been pitching pretty well lately, and Rodon obviously, an elite arm when healthy. So interesting first game back, or first game in Coors back, only 11 in some, or 10.5 in some places.
Like you said, some high game totals here. It's interesting because we have some elite pitching on this slate as well. Yeah. So it's like high totals, but good pitching. We'll have to see kind of how all of this plays out. James, before we do get to the breakdown of today's slates, again, we want to talk and mention our sponsor here, our partner over at Fantasy Alarm Better Sports Network, RT Sports. I'll just let everybody know what we got going on here over there.
Yeah, we have a pick'em promo going, or they have a pick'em promo going. And make sure to play the real-time sports daily pick'em contest. All you have to do is set a lineup of player props, hit them all, and you win. It's baseball, basketball, football, golf, and more. Any sport that you could think of, they have it. First-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 with deposit code ALARM23. So what you have to do is you go to rtsports.com/alarm, use code ALARM23, all one word. And if it's your first deposit, you get up to a 100% deposit match up to $200. Yeah. You turn $200 into $400 right away, John. And honestly, if you wanted to do $10, if you're not a high stakes player, you get an extra 10, you get free $10 to play with. You have $20, turn that into $400 one day, So great promo going on. And please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, a lot of pick'em contests, James. And again, we'll be back at live 5 o'clock Eastern. We'll have some player props for everybody over on RT Sports. So make sure you come back for the live stream later on in the day, and we'll give you our favorite plays to help you win some cash over on RT Sports. So that said, let's turn the page. Let's go to it. DraftKings slate, top pitching prospects for tonight's slate here. How are you looking to kick things off here, James?
Yeah, I mean, future Yankee Shohei Ohtani at the top,
Yeah,
obviously. 10-9 for future Yankee Shohei Ohtani seems like a pretty good price. He has been, you know, every bit the part and everything. The only thing I've honestly seen from the All-Star weekend was how cool he looked in his suit heading to the All-Star game. That was
sure.
the only thing I saw or cared to see this entire weekend, or this entire week, I should say. Now, he limped into the All-Star break with a struggling start against San Diego, but the start prior, 10 strikeouts, the start prior, 12 strikeouts against
Yeah.
the Dodgers. Like, the guy is nothing.
He's had one good start, one bad start against Houston this year too. So kind of give or take a little bit there. Jordan not in the lineup though, going to start his rehab assignment, so a little bit of an easier. No Altuve as well, right? So
Yep.
a little bit of an easier spot here for Ohtani this go around.
Yeah, no Altuve, no Jordan, definitely positive. Pablo Lopez is going to be the chalk of the slate. I think that's pretty clear cut. He's coming off, the best start maybe of his entire career. Complete
Oakland
game.
calling up two of their top hitting prospects, but not that we expect Soderstrom or is it Geloff, whatever it is. He's
Yeah.
no, not those guys aren't going to really give him much trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Geloff, and
Yeah,
like
Geloff, yeah.
they're both good. Geloff has a lot of speed, some power. Soderstrom is very good in the power department. He's also only hitting 250 in the minors, but
In the
again,
PCL, he hit 250.
yeah,
So
he did hit 20 bombs. So, it is worth noting, like, Pablo Lopez has been bitten by home runs at times this year, 12 home runs allowed, but he's now up to 138 strikeouts in 111 innings. Like, there's a lot of upside here for Lopez. And George Kirby against the Tigers. I know the Tigers have been better of late, and I know Kirby's been inconsistent in the strikeout department, but 5 straight quality starts for George Kirby, getting to deep into games. 3 of those have been wins. In all of those games, he's had 18 plus fantasy points. And he does have 10 strikeout upside, as we've seen,
right.
which is why it's frustrating to watch Kirby, because he can strike guys out. And the Tigers are a team that struck out a lot against right-handed pitching in the first half of the year. So those would be my top 3 arms of the slate.
Yeah, I think I mean, right below Kirby, I think Morton could be a bit interesting here as well.
Sure.
If Luis Robert's not in the lineup for White
Sure.
Sox, he injured himself during the home run derby, like pulled a calf or had calf soreness and kept him out of the All-Star game. Luis Robert is a guy that finds himself hurt a lot during a baseball season. So if he's out of that lineup, it just makes it that much less deadly. And Morton is a big strikeout guy here. So, and we know that they're going to be pretty big favorites on this slate as well. So, Morton at 9K, I think I would actually probably play him. I think I would have Lopez and Morton as my 1-2 here of that top group for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely good with keeping Morton mixed in the fray of, Lopez has obviously shown the highest ceiling. He has a complete game shutout. Do I think he has a regularly higher ceiling than Ohtani? No, because Ohtani has, he's 133 strikeouts.
You're just saving $1,000.
You're just saving $1,000
on a guy that's in at least a much
infinitely better
spot.
Infinitely better spot.
So again, it's not to say that Ohtani can't go out 7 innings, 15 Ks, like certainly in a bag, but I'd rather Lopez than Morton. If we're going down into the mid-tier range here, Brian Bayo's at $7,700.
Yes.
He's looking like an absolute stud. Definitely am a fan of him there. Rodon, is he not going to pitch deep enough yet? 5 1/3, only 69 pitches, but it is a lefty against Colorado. What's Carlos Rodon going to get to for pitch count here? Like, is the training wheels off? Is he at 80 pitches? This is a pretty good matchup for him here.
So I assume, the last rehab start, he threw 58. Then he went to 69 in this first start. We have to assume based on that, we're somewhere around 80 pitches. 8,500, the cheapest we're going to get him if he's throwing 90 pitches. So
all right.
If the third start he makes of the year is 90 pitches, he'll probably be 9K plus.
He went 5 1/3 in 69 pitches. So he could get 6 innings still in this game, through 85 and have 7 strikeouts, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in the mid-tier when I was kind of looking it over. I have some interest in Gray against Cleveland. I know Cleveland's really started to heat up going into the break, heading into the second half of the year. But I do like John Gray. I know he's had some struggles, but look at Toronto, Houston, Boston kind of gave him. Those are really
right.
Good lineups. So Gray's been a pretty good pitcher all year long, so I don't mind going them. But if I was looking at this tier, it was Rodon, it was Bayo for me.
Yeah, I definitely like Bayo. He just continues to pitch well, and the Cubs offense we know has hit.
The only thing he's not doing is striking out guys, right? Like,
I mean,
you'd like more than 5 Ks.
Yeah.
But
there has been an 8 strikeout ceiling, which is nice. And he has been at least pretty consistent about getting us 5. 3 of his last 4 starts, he's been at 5. He pitches deep into games. He has a good offense behind him, even though they don't give him any run support, apparently. I mean, none.
Yeah, I know. Wins a lot of 3-1 games.
Just, what are we doing here? Like, give this guy some runs. Definitely like Bayo. I have interest in Dean Kramer. I mean, we talk about, like, guys who are missing bats coming off a 10 strikeout game against the Yankees. He has 5 or more in, I mean, every start since May 21st.
Yeah.
And he's largely been good outside of a start against Minnesota. Miami, for as good of a team as they are, because they are just a quality baseball team, they're 20th in OPS against right-handed pitching. 22% strikeout rate is They hit lefties way better. I'm okay getting to Creamer. I'm okay getting to Flaherty, who is clearly auditioning to be traded. I mean, the general manager, John Mozeliak,
they said they will be trading players.
Quote, we will be trading pieces. Like, not shy about it. Flaherty is probably at the top of the list of most people's radar. I mean, back-to-back quality or shutouts going into the break. I know he had the 2 blow-ups in the 2 starts before, but that preceded a 6 scoreless inning outing against Texas. So, like, I like Flaherty here at 6,300. This is the cheapest we've got him all year. He's made it to nearly 9K at times this year. So 6,300, I know it's not a great spot against Washington in terms of strikeouts. I think it's more of a price play for me for Flaherty when he's pitching his best, knowing he's going to be traded, and now he's coming off back-to-back shutouts. So I'm going to get to Flaherty here. I think they can give him enough support to win. If he has the outings that he had last time, 4 and 5 strikeouts, but he gets a win, he goes 6+ and doesn't allow a run. I mean, he had 22 fantasy points in each. So.
Speaking of guys we've never seen as cheap.
Yeah.
Sandy Alcantara is $6,800.
Yep. He's definitely
Philadelphia,
pitched better.
6 2/3 an earned run. Boston, 7 innings an earned run. It's obviously bookended by a lot of tough outings here. Would you throw a dart on Sandy at all?
I would. The Atlanta start, he was pitching really well in too, and then he allowed 2 home runs, and I think he got through 6 innings, or he got into the 6th and gave up 2 innings or 2 home runs, and they're like, all right, more of what we've seen.
If you look at his numbers on the year, the strikeouts are the big concerning thing. 7.4 K per 9 is way down from what we've seen from him in years past. Home run fly ball ratio is kind of league average, so it's not like terrible there. He's got a 4.7 ERA. His expected ERA is 4.3. His FIP's 3.8. So, some potential positive regression for him. In Baltimore, which is profiled a little bit more as a pitcher's park since they moved the walls back.
Yep.
Maybe he's adjusted some things going to the second half. Maybe he needed the break. I don't know. Just, again, the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner is under 7K. So
it's definitely worth a conversation because he's, again, like, I listened to his manager talk about he thinks that it had to do with the World Baseball Classic, but when does that turnaround start? If that was the reason, when do we start seeing the fruitfulness of it? Like,
right.
Why would it still be caused by the World Baseball Classic? Right. We're halfway through the year.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Just a big name that cheap obviously stands out a little bit there. So, all right. Anybody else?
No.
All right. Let's go on to the hitters then. Let's talk about your top hitters on this slate. Where are you starting things off?
So we've talked ad nauseum about lefties against Chris Bassett this year. So Ketel Marte, who, I guess technically limped into the All-Star break, if that's what we want to call it. He didn't have the best stretch of games before the break. But before this last little stretch, he was fantastic for a large portion of the year. And I know he has better numbers technically against left-handed pitching. He wasn't any slouch against righties either. And again, Chris Bassett has been historically bad against lefties.
580 slugging, 403 WOBA allowed to left-handed bats this year by Bassett.
Yeah, I mean those are numbers you don't see for guys that are supposed to be as good as him. You know, like was signed to be a top flight arm for them.
2.6 home runs per 9 to lefties this year by Bassett.
Yeah, I mean that's and Marte's power has been back. I mean, he has 15 home runs going into the break. This is a guy who hit, I think, 30 home runs 2 years ago. So I like him. I like Vladdy quite a bit going up against Tommy Henry on the opposite side of this game. Tommy Henry has allowed 8 home runs to right-handed bats this year, 1.34 home runs per 9 innings. He has a very high fly ball rate, 43% to righties, 48% to lefties. That's concerning in Toronto because you've mentioned it throughout. Like, you know, the walls in Toronto are further in this year, and I know it hasn't exactly played out that way.
I mean, they got no hit by the Tigers, for crying out loud.
They did get no hit for the Tigers. I'm expecting something different in the second half of the year, and I think Vladdy's going to be at the forefront of that, especially after coming off a home run derby win. We might just get a home run derby by himself in the second half. And then, you know, we do see the Cardinals matchup against the Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mackenzie Gore, for how good he was earlier in the year, has not been that good in the second half of the first half. 11 home runs allowed to righties, 423 slug, almost 1.4 home runs per 9 innings.
Lefties are also doing a lot of damage.
They are.
They have a 513 slug, a 422 WOBA, 350 batting average.
Yeah, that's scary. It's obviously a much smaller sample.
Yes.
And then I think the one also thing to note on Mackenzie Gore is the disparity between. He allows only 25% fly ball rate to lefties, almost 40% fly ball rate to righties. So if Goldschmidt puts one in the air here, I think he could leave the yard.
Yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with you there as well. If I'm looking at just a couple of other top guys, willing to go Devers against Hendricks, I think the time off for him, you know, not being in the All-Star game, hopefully a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he's like third in RBIs. He's right up there with home runs in the American League, and guy didn't get an All-Star nod. I'm sure that's a little bothersome to him there. So I think I like Devers a lot here. And then I'd be willing to go back. You mentioned, obviously, the St. Louis guys, Goldschmidt's there, but Olsen against Kopech at 6K. I'll probably have some exposure there as well as top price guys.
Yeah. I mean, Olsen, hard not to look at what he's done this year and be like, yeah, pretty good. I wonder what the Oakland got back for him. I wonder how good their package was that they got back for Matt Olson, right?
Okay, not.
They must have gotten a great. They must have gotten a great package.
You would think so, yeah. You would have thought that would have been the case.
They must have.
Not quite. All right, value infielders.
So I like Ezekiel Tovar. I know we talked about Carlos Rodon, but Tovar has been amazing for the Rockies of late. And again, like they do. Like Rodon is a good pitcher, but it is his second start coming back from multiple injuries. We had the back injury, we had the shoulder injury, the forearm. Like there's been a bunch of injuries for Rodon. Tovar went into the break rolling at home in Coors. He's hitting 292 this year, 227 on the road. At home against he's actually, I guess, technically been better against righties, but he's been better from the power department from lefties this year, John. 482 slug, 253 ISO for Ezekiel Tovar against lefties. So Ezekiel Tovar for me, I love Giants here from the left against a lefty. Patrick Bailey, 3,900. He has a 400 plus ISO against lefties. And how about our boy who used to hit lefties well and then kind of fell off, and now he's back, Wilmer Flores, who went into the break dominating, hitting everything, and now he's hitting lefties again. Wilmer Flores is only $3,200, and he faces Rich Hill here, hitting 364 over his last 10 games. So give me some Giants. Give me Tovar.
Rich Hill really fallen off the last 5 starts. So.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's 45 years old.
I agree. I agree 100% there with you. A lot of good options there. I guess if I could throw one out there, I don't mind getting Yankees exposure. Donaldson's $3,500 against a lefty in Coors. I think that there's some appeal for me there. I also think Perdomo, though he's $4,500 again, he'll flip around batting lefty against Bassett, so you'll have that there. And then at first base, you mentioned obviously we like Alcantara, but like Ryan O'Hearn's $3,400. Baltimore still hitting righties pretty well on the year, and lefties are the ones giving more of a fit to Alcantara. So could have some power here for O'Hearn that just keeps on hitting for Baltimore. So that's some value. Again, we'll have a full playbook out for everybody, and we'll do the live stream again at 5 Eastern, build some lineups and whatnot. So take a look there at the infield. Let's move on over to the outfield now, James. Again, top talent, but just given the Bassett matchup, right? Don't we just plug Corbin Carroll in here?
Yeah, who's apparently fine after a shoulder injury.
He broke his arm, and then he played the next day.
Played the very next day, yeah. He's probably the top option. Like, you can obviously play Acuna. You can Verlander has struggled against righties, so if you wanted to play Mookie Betts, who, I mean, talk about, he's the hottest hitter on the planet going into the break. Mookie Betts was.
6 homers in 10 games,
dude, hitting 450 or if you wanted to play Mookie Betts, nobody's gonna be mad at you for it. You might even get Carroll at the lower ownership of these three, truthfully. So I love Corbin Carroll at that price.
Springer's expensive at 55, but I like the spot against Henry, so could get there if we wanted to get there. Other guys up over 5K, anybody for you? Do you go against Marsh with any of these Tampa Bay hitters?
Yeah, I think that's the primary spot I would want to target. Now, Tampa Bay was horrible at the tail end of the
struggling, big time.
They were really bad. But Alec Marsh, and I profiled this the last playbook I did with Marsh. He was 2-16 in the minors last year, John. 2-16 in AA and AAA. He is not a major league pitcher, and I know he pitched fairly well the last time, and I believe it was against the Twins. Yeah, it was. And I was all in on the Twins. That you were away. It was like one of your last days. It was the biggest Twins crush stream we've had to date, and you weren't there.
I know.
I'm gonna do it all again with Tampa Bay. They've been too good all year to be this bad, for an extended period of time. And I don't know if it had any correlation to the Wander Franco situation where he was just
he got benched, right?
He got benched, didn't care. Yeah. Josh Lowe, $5,000. Arozarena, $5,400. And we've been seeing Arozarena up near 6K for most of the year. Luke Raley, $4,200. I'm willing to get to any and all of these Tampa Bay bats against Marsh in a hot environment in Kansas City. We've talked about that a couple times this year where
balls fly.
Balls fly in Kansas City when it's hot. If the weather holds up and it's not bad, I'm going to get to any and all of those Tampa Bay guys.
Speaking of hot hitters, Masataka Yoshida went into the break, 417,000 OPS. Even had some stolen bases there, 3 stolen bases, 2 homers over the last 10 games here. So getting him in Chicago, hopefully the wind will be blowing out. Hopefully the rain will hold off. Really great price tag for him. You have Julio Rodriguez against Eduardo Rodriguez, righty versus lefty there. He's under 5K. I think that's kind of an interesting spot to take advantage of there as well. And then Christian Yeller, as bad as he'd been the last couple of years,
been great
against Ram Ashcraft, the cheapest pitcher on the slate in Cincinnati. And that feels like a lock play at $4,600.
Yeah, honestly, we should probably resurface the Adames play too. $4,300. We didn't talk about Willy Adames, but he went into the break really hot. 4 home runs his last 5 games before the break. Just 4,300. So him and Yelich as a mini stack could be super elite. I love that.
Big fan of that spot there for them as well. Value. Talk about some value outfielders for you.
Not, I guess fringe value. I'll just throw Harrison Bader's hat in the ring, $4,300. I know, he again not value, but $4,300 for Harrison Bader does feel pretty good. Teoscar Hernandez, $3,500 against Erod. we know what the his power pedigree is from the right side of the plate. I'd be willing to take a shot on it.
Where's Jarren Duran?
Jarren Duran, they don't price. He is $3,600. So yeah, they don't price him, dude. He was in. I forget what the matchup was. I think it was John Gray, and Boston. I think he was like 2,800.
He's hitting 548 with a 1,600 OPS the last 10 games.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what they're thinking.
I'm just clicking that button. I'm just gonna click the button.
You can just click the button.
Duran's gonna be in a lineup.
Yeah, we can click the button. Jake McCarthy, $3,000, another lefty. And I don't know if you caught this, John, while you were away or at the tail end when you got back. Old Arizona starting to move McCarthy up and up and up. And we saw him. There was a few times as we approached the break, he hit second. So we'll see if that continues. Now, there was people in and out of the lineup. Obviously, Corbin Carroll was hurt a couple times. But if they're going to continue to – if Geraldo Perdomo is going to continue to kind of struggle at times, like I could see a scenario where he's hitting back near the top.
There's a really good 3K tier. Janikowski, McCarthy, and Jordan Walker all 3K.
Yeah, it seems silly. Now
Taven Smith against Bassett too, 2,900.
Yep. No, he was optioned.
Oh, okay.
Optioned. And I'll say the Jordan Walker thing is interesting because Jordan Walker has been bad against lefties. He's been really good against righties.
Sure.
So if you're playing a stack, I'm okay with it. But I probably wouldn't get to him as one-off. Another lefty they did call up though, John, Arizona. Alex Thomas, he's kind of raking home runs in back-to-back games going into the break. He was a top prospect for them. So, just another.
Listen, we already liked Arizona a lot on this slate.
Yeah, I know. We don't need more reasons to play
would you go anybody in Cincinnati against Burns? I mean, we haven't touched this spot at all. Cincinnati does lead that division. They have a lot of guys that are hitting really well. Yep. Any interest going against Burns in Cincy here?
Yeah,
Will Benson's down here at $2,600.
Yeah, Will Benson. I think you could play any of them. Will Benson obviously gets you to a cheap exposure to get the rest of like Fraley 47, Friedel 44, both good prices because to get like Ellie 63. I'd be okay getting to Benson and pairing them with some Reds as well.
All right, we got about a minute to go. Let's build a lineup here. We'll bring our gems and imprints for the live stream. Let's get a lineup out there for the folks. Starting at pitching.
Pablo Lopez for sure.
Pablo Lopez, okay. Would you go Bayo?
Yeah, we could go Pablo Lopez and Bayo. Okay.
I got Duran already locked. What's our catcher?
I went Tovar at short just to help facilitate a little
salary. Okay.
Yeah. Catcher on this slate is going to be. Let's see here. We can go Wilson Contreras. We go Patrick Bailey.
Wong versus Hendricks, 2,500.
Yeah, Connor Wong's good.
Good value play there.
I think we go Adames Yelich. Oh, we have Tovar. Damn.
Oh, let's see. Adames.
We have Tovar. Move off Tovar. Move off Tovar and get Adames. That's a great two stack.
What do we like Marte, right? Can we get Marte in here?
Yeah, we could play Wilmer. Wilmer is a really cheap first baseman option. He's $3,200. You can play Wilmer at third too.
Want to do Donaldson at third?
Yeah, we could play Josh Donaldson on the road. John, remember last year?
On the road versus lefty. $4,700 outfielder. Yoshida.
Yeah, complete.
So that's the lineup we got for everybody here. Again, James and I will be back live 5:00 Eastern. Give everybody a rerun of the slate, updated news, lineups, you name it. We got it for you. Good to be back. All-Star breaks over. Second half stretch underway. James and I will talk to you all later. See ya.